Well, hello, currency traders. Let's get into a recap for the market September 26th. Joe with you here on a Thursday. I've got my 2 cents. Make sure you take responsibility for whatever you get from all these courses. So let's get into it. I'm going to break down the meaningful news of the day. Let's take a look at what the markets did, along with sharing some trades with the community, as always.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional Forex and crypto traders. Maverick Currencies is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional Forex and currency trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
As we move in to the market analysis, you're going to see, hey, the more things change, the more they stay the same. So overall, not much action in the overall markets after a super eventful policy week. I don't know if there's a country that didn't address their rates. I think the only one that was a little bit surprised was the U.S. as they went from a 25 to a 50, basis cut. But it was on the table as well. So guess what? Currencies remain consistent in their overall trends. It's been tumultuous, to say the least, when it comes to volatility. They've been difficult. So if you've been trying to play 15-minute charts, 30-minute charts, 4-hour charts, they've been difficult because there's a lot of push-pull. But overall, the weak currencies have stayed weak and the strong have stayed strong. It's just kind of a slow play or a longer game. We have the PCE out tomorrow for the U.S. I think that might be the last little catalyst when it comes to this week. I don't know what's going to happen with that. When you cut 50 basis points, and what we've seen in some of the economic numbers, I'll show you here in a second, there's really not much out there except the Fed's pretty much right in line. At least they appear to be. So how do we finish overall? Well, it was definitely a risk on. Aussie, New Zealand, 0.69, 0.68, another push to the upside there. And the yen and the US dollar, a little bit more reserved, right? Getting kind of beat down, 0.62 to the downside, 0.56. Franc, euro, and pound sideways. CAD down 0.45. I do believe that has a lot to do with Saudi Arabia. They have kind of their outlook on $100 a barrel, and they are kind of paring that back, saying, okay, well, maybe it's not going to be there. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but understand a country that size when it comes to their oil production, when they say something, maybe that could be the reaction because oil was down quite a bit. In fact, let's just get there. You can see it was down 3.46%. Now, was that the Saudi Arabia's outlook, or was that just the fact that oil has been really trending down for a while? I don't know. I don't care. I just follow trends. Overall, past that, we got the S&P up 0.4%, which I believe that these markets, or the U.S. markets at least, are kind of waiting for some sort of catalyst as they just kind of meander sideways. World index, however, put on a little bit more, 1.2%. Crypto, another move to the upside, as crypto does, and then gold up 0.26. Let's break down those cryptos. You could see comfortably over that 2% mark. Ethereum being the big winner today at 2.84. So overall, we have our market outlook is going to stay at a +2, and it's just a high base. Let's just jump right into it. And this is what I mean by it. It appears that the U.S. markets are kind of waiting for something, because I've been seeing this movement just kind of sideways here ever since this big push to the upside. Now, it is a very strong ascending triangle pattern. Yes, I've drawn this 1,000 times, and I'm going to keep drawing it because I really want everybody to realize that, look, the motion of where the money's going is definitely to the upside. It's a little hesitant up here. We're not here to guess that. What we're here to do is trade the markets in front of us. So we are definitely going to sit and stay at that +2. What do we got left for the week? Well, the only thing that I can see as note-wise, and like I say, that was a big week last week with all that Fed, or I should say with all that rate policies across the world, is this PCE index. Now, I don't know if it matters if it's a little hot or a little low, because we've seen some pretty stable numbers. So, I mean, a little bit lower on expected unemployment claims, durable goods, a little bit of a bump up, durable goods orders are in line. So we might see a little bit more of that soft landing, which does make it difficult for anybody trying to project increasing or decreasing economic expansion when it comes to the U.S., which is why I believe the markets are kind of staying sideways and really kind of going nowhere. So let's take a look at some currencies. First off, let's jump into the yen here, and you can see, wow, it's been negative, it's been weak. This is our velocity here. Look at that. That's a negative move on the RSI. We got a flip over here on the SAR, and the movement of the overall trend line is definitely lower. This is going to be a -3. There's really no other way to score it, which it's been negative for quite some time, which does create some sort of opportunities. Now, the US dollar has been a little bit more tumultuous. And what I mean by that, it has these bounces where it can go to +2 to a -2 when it comes to its volatility score. I mean, ever since we had that announcement, here's your push-pull, flip SAR, flatten this. Look at this RSI. Very difficult to gauge when it comes to momentum. It is still definitely in its downtrend, isn't it? And you're decreasing the value of a currency. So really kind of only got one way to go. What really matters is what you pair it against. Now, we had a pretty decent bounce last week. I know that the SARS flipped, so if you want to give that a plus, you can. I'm going to give this 0 here when it comes to a trend line, but I like the decrease, or I should say in my book, the increase to the bear side on this RSI. So that's a -1. I'll give you a +1 and then a plus. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep that US dollar at kind of at a -1. If you want to go 0 on that, that's fine. But it's the overall pattern that makes me believe that its momentum is definitely showing signs of weakness. Moving over to the franc. The franc's showing a little bit more reluctancy to even try and bounce. So we got our SARs. They're down. We've got a decreasing moving average and a flattening RSI. Very easy to put this at a -2 and just keep it there. A fun one to pair with when it comes to the risk on currencies, the yen and the Aussie dollar. So that's definitely where we're going to go for today. But it is definitely just staying way on the weak side there. The euro has gotten a little weaker. It's still a pretty consistent currency. It's just kind of sitting there. But over the last little bit, momentum-wise, it is showing a little bit of weakness. Flip over here. What I'm focusing on more is this lower highs. See those two lower highs? It did break lower support levels. The RSI has definitely climbed back up, but after it set a lower low. So I've got a flip on the SAR here. I've got decreased price action. I've got a moving average that's kind of flattening after it came down, and then a flattening RSI. The best I can give the euro here is a -1. The pound, on the other hand, is still holding in. So it's difficult because you could see how strong this trend was, and now it's starting to flatten as it hits kind of a double top area. It did flip the SAR here. It looks like the momentum wants to change. The moving average is kind of flattening out, but this RSI is flattening as well. So I decided to, hey, let me just stay glass half full here and give it a +1 on the momentum score. I would love to see this thing break above. I'd love to see it uptick here, and I could easily go +2, +3 moving forward. It's been a super strong currency, though, for quite some time. Over to the CAD. This one got a little bit of a hiccup based on what I saw in oil today, but it didn't really change its overall score. Here's the RSI, definitely on its way down, just barely slipped below the 50. I think a lot of that had to do with just an oversold bounce that we've been seeing. SAR flipped as well. We have a positive moving average with a little bit of a slope. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep this as a -1. This is definitely negative. That's a negative, but that moving average means it's still kind of in its up move, and this could easily bounce here, folks. This could, sorry, folks. Let me get a better line. This could easily bounce and move up, and then all of a sudden, this doesn't matter. So I'm not going to be super bearish on this. I'm going to just keep it at a -1. Aussie and New Zealand, super easy to do. It's been flattening since I built this course, but hey, move up here. This is sideways. This is up, right? Let me get my boxes here. Positive SAR, definitely a positive moving average, up at a high base. Easy peasy to say +3. This is kind of flattening here, but I do like how it's moved to the upside. So I think it's a high trend setter. You can go +2. I kept it as a +3 because I just think it's just staying in there. It's just showing a lot of strength. The New Zealand dollar as well. You can see a little bit of a move here up in the RSI. Right there, a flip on the SAR and the overall moving average. It's kind of flattening. I went ahead and said, hey, let's not go from a +3, but I'll give it a +2. But still, definitely one of the better outperformers when it comes to the currencies. So here's our velocity score. Yeah, a little bit of push and pull. A little things kind of moved back and forth, but I really want you guys to focus on this. New Zealand dollar and the Aussie dollar have been +2, +3, +2 for quite some time. The yen, the franc, the CAD, and the US dollar have been -1, -2, -1, -2, -1. Those haven't changed. The euro did slip a little bit to -1. The pound, I think, is 0 to +1. They haven't moved too much. It's the outskirts that we want to focus on. And overall, folks, I'm not seeing too much divergence in that. The New Zealand dollar has been the strongest. The Aussie's been the strongest. The yen, the franc, and the US dollar have been the weakest for a long, long time. So our trades, my trades, haven't changed, and nothing's going to change. So let's take a look at the only one I really want to look at. And I'm just going to take the far right and the far left. Well, this is going to be the Aussie yen. And there are two things I liked actually about the Aussie yen. Was not only its velocity score, this 4-hour chart, because we have a beautiful high base and it looks like it's leaking higher. Now understand, folks, we can tear into this. I expect it to pull back a little bit, but I think what got me the most excited was its daily chart. And this is something I've been looking at for a little while, and it's really cool to see something just establish itself. Double bottom here, it's moving higher, flip the SAR, and it's actually threatening this resistance level that it set back early September. So yeah, I mean, it could be a little bit longer to get there. It looks like it's extended, but once again, if we see continued weakness in the yen against the Aussie, it's going to be something that's easy to do. Now, the other one that I guess I would kind of flirt with, just so you guys had a second choice, would be, guess what? Yep, the Aussie franc. Now, you'll see a little bit of a difference there when I jump to it, in that there is a little bit of reluctancy, or I should say, less divergence between the two. Now, you can see we've got a leveling RSI here, and this is on the momentum indicator, but it does have a nice little bull pullback. I like a bull pullback pattern a little bit more than things that continue higher and higher and higher, because I feel I'm getting a price correction enough to where I can leg into my first leg. Let's say somewhere around this area, right? See if it can hit that SAR and then flip back over, so I can get a little bit here. And then once it gets to this area, I can take my second position. When we take a look at the daily chart on this, you can see that it's kind of already exceeded the levels that I was talking about with the Aussie yen. And that's right here. So it's kind of already on its way as it beats through that ascending triangle pattern. Take a look at the RSI here. So we definitely have the momentum on our side. The SARs are really expanding. So we got a good surge going on. Both trades, I think, are viable. Both trades are great. I think this one gives us a little bit more opportunity. However, the absolute strongest versus the weakest is definitely the Aussie yen when it comes to just comparing the volatility score. So it really just depends on the type of trader you are and kind of what you guys want to follow with. Overall, folks, we're seeing some corrective action in some of the movements. Some things are kind of pulling back or consolidating. A lot in the euro and the pound, but the weak currencies have stayed weak. The yen, the franc, the dollar, the CAD, and the strong ones are staying strong. We got New Zealand and the Aussie both just holding in there. I don't think I've gotten those below +1 quite some time. The pound and the euro staying stable as well. So you guys can just kind of pair those things together. But take a look at the longer term, more so than shorter term. It might give you something a little bit more feasible or something that you might want to grab onto. US PCE number tomorrow could cause a little bit of volatility. Be aware of that. Follow your plan. Play the relative strength and weakness, folks. If there are trades that you can get behind or you disagree with something, just stay out of it. Just wait for your set to come in before you go out and push some buttons. There's no rush to hurry it along. All right, folks. Thanks so much for joining me. We'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.